I think that question of, do I even have a business that Phil asked? I think that's the right question to be asking. Like, what is our durable advantage here? What's going to actually be durable though in that world of exponential power of AI?
If all of this occurs and the majority of people then don't have employment and then we have universal basic income, how are we going to keep a population of humans occupied where you pay them to play video games?
We come full circle. And then it's like, all right, I'm never going to take a phone call because 99% are going to be an AI bot doing outbound. Then it's like, all right, now we need to go pound the pavement and we're back to real life. But the problem with that is real life doesn't scale.
So here is the search results for AI girlfriend and AI boyfriend. And there's 13 times more search volume for AI girlfriend. So it does highlight that men continue to be the weirder and the creepy bunch. Are you still dressed up for Melbourne Cup yesterday?
No. I didn't even do anything. I completely missed the race. The fire alarm in my apartment building went off.
Okay. That'll do it.
Hello.
Morning, how are you?
That's one of those days where the kids are very high needs, but other than that, good. And I actually slept.
Why would we sleep?
Well, because like jet lag and whatever other chaos and cortisol and who knows what else.
Which one of you was bloody had a spoon in a plate last episode?
Not me.
Almost killed me trying to edit that out.
We told you just to kill the whole episode.
No, you guys had some good insights.
We had good insights. What did we say?
Were they insights?
Well, on
you and I
on a relative basis compared to what I was trying to communicate, the insights were good.
I feel like just communication was
yeah.
But it was an hour 42 of recorded time that ended up with a 33-minute episode.
Oh,
so that
cool.
Well, I'm still frightened. I feel like that should be under lock and key.
I feel I need to listen.
No, have a listen to it. I think you'll be fine. I think we just jump straight into it, given I've probably got to make up for last week's episode anyway.
Anything to recap, Don?
Anything to recap? Well, I've spoken to quite a number of the portfolio. Yesterday, I had about an hour session with Phil, as an example, which I'm not sure it left him in like a better position after the call, because we were just talking about AI. And then we just pulled through a few threads of what the world could look like. And he was like, hang on a minute, do I actually even have a business? I was like, well, that's a really good question that I think we should try and answer. And then some of the other conversations have been around this statement that we've made of software is going to zero, data's going to zero, and people want to understand that a little bit more. And Jack and I had, I think, quite a good conversation about it. So let's try and replicate a few things, but maybe starting with Aaron, when we say software is going to zero, based on what we saw from Joel and some of the presentations we have had in US, what does that actually mean?
Yeah. So if you look at the scaling of AI, it hasn't yet hit the typical S curve of results versus capital in. So at the moment, what that means is you can just keep buying more computational power and the AI models are just getting more and more powerful. So, and you look at this, the exponential growth of that AI power, founders need to be asking the question, if the current AI models were 10x to 100x better than they currently are, how much of what I'm doing could just be completely replaced by AI or spun up by AI? And in that context, we've got AI generating code, but also AI actually running simulators with gaming engines and testing all sorts of theories and making new discoveries. So software going to zero is the fact that very soon we'll be able to spin up entire new software just using AI. And
the AI will write it. The
Yeah.
AI will then check it. The AI will then test it. The AI will then improve it. Now, in the first iteration that we're seeing, what we saw in the US is the process is at least asking a human to confirm if you want those changes, or to summarize for the human, here's the changes that you should do, or here's the code. In the next iteration, and we're already starting to see it, the AI just makes those changes and creates this infinite improvement loop. And so if you set it a task to rebuild an entire app, even if it takes it 2 weeks to go through, test, iterate, learn, and change, the billions of dollars that have been spent on some of these horizontal and vertical software can just be replaced in seconds, hours, or days by something that can produce code off the back of natural language.
Yeah, and it's getting there super fast. Like that was the key insight, I think, for me coming out of the US, was just how close this is in the near term. So the ability of AI to improve itself, but also to create new data. So it's not just that software is going to zero, but a lot of people are looking at their models and saying, well, our model is proprietary. Well, no, because AI can actually now develop its own models and its own little expert submodels and develop its own parameters to things that you might not even realize. But then also some founders are still relying on, well, we have proprietary data, but now the models can actually go and generate synthetic data and test it in its own simulations. And so even data is going to zero as well.
We could just leave it at that and just say it's a fact and get over it.
I think that question of, do I even have a business, that Phil asked, I think that's the right question to be asking. Like, what is our durable advantage here? What physicality is obviously a standout. So, oh wow, even Riverside's now doing thumbs ups, gestures. But physicality is absolutely something. So what is in the physical world that can't be directly replaced by AI? Distribution, network effects, all the things that we typically talk about. What's going to actually be durable though in that world of exponential power of AI?
Yeah, I think the point when we say that the software is going to zero, it's the development and the cost of it and the code value of it. But actually, like you say, Aaron, if you've still got that durability and you've got the reason for someone to use it, then you may be one of the ones that can survive by using AI to improve what happens inside there. And we're going to look at a few examples now as part of this episode of how it's being used. But Jack, you and I were having a chat, was it yesterday or the day before? And we were just, without targeting individual parts of the portfolio, we were looking at like, where is the defensibility? And so after that conversation, where did you land in terms of defensibility in a world where software can be automatically built?
Yeah, I'm still getting some thought, but what we were discussing, like any business that has a network effect that's definitely peer-to-peer, like that's going to hold true, and AI is just going to supercharge that platform. But if it's like a B2B marketplace, and really all it was doing before is solving the efficiency for the business by integrating all the other buyers, like AI is just going to replace that completely. So there's no need for a marketplace. Like it's happy to go and have 30 browsers and then search the web and complete the task. And that's what the agents are going to do. But then I think the other scary thing is like a lot of the defensibility for a lot of B2B companies is a switching cost. And most of it comes in a financial switching cost. That's not going to hold true going forward. And there's so many great B2B software companies now that rely on that. I think there still will be a switching cost in the change management piece. So if you look at the enterprise, the top end of the market, if you've got an enterprise with 500,000 employees, you're going to be very reluctant to continuously change software providers. So I think there might be some defensibility there when you overlay that with contracts that typically 5-10 years plus. But yeah, I don't know. It's bloody hard. Like I'm looking at all these software tools that we use and just going, like, is this going to go to zero? Like, will this be bundled?
And something we were talking about yesterday, Jack, and that was like, would we just use AI to spin up a software tool for the transaction that we need to complete or the purpose we need to complete and then spin it down, which comes back to what we've talked about on previous podcasts around the potential for SaaS to shift to, rather than being subscription-based, but actually outcome-based. And so I can see a future, like this makes sense to me more now than before, that transaction-based pricing or the outcome-based pricing will be more logical in this world than the SaaS recurring.
So why don't we I'm going to play this little video here and share the screen. We'll use this as an example for both the SaaS, but also the human that was using the SaaS. So let's say that you're a workplace health and safety consultant. You're probably paid big dollars to go out and do these things. And you may use, I don't know, safety culture as the tool to go and collect that information, then create a plan and create a report. Here, what Claude was asked to do is it was fed a video from online, and it said, hey, Claude, watch this construction site video and write up all the things that you see as positive, as well as the things that look dangerous, and create a spreadsheet of critical issues to address. So he feeds this video in, and on the left-hand side, for listeners at home, Claude is picking out all the good and the bad things. It's taking screenshots of it. It then opens up a spreadsheet. It then exports and creates a whole list of all of the compliance issues, the action that's required, the suggested action. Now, okay, to begin with, this isn't the fanciest interface, but with this AI tool, someone sitting at the desk, so a lower skill, can just have video from site fed into it, and it spits out all these things, which could then be fed into a work method statement system, could be fed into something else. Like, that's what we mean, that software is going to zero, but also I think a whole lot of professional services are in trouble. Like, if I think about the money that I've paid my engineer, bless his cotton socks, for my renovation, to overspec the shit out of everything, the footings, the timbers, the whole box and dice. No. The drawings, which in the future will be done by AI, will get fed into a specification AI, and it'll spit out all of the things for pennies on the dollar. Like, why would I be paying $300 to an engineer and $5,000 overall for something that actually it's just following a set of tables?
Yeah, while we're in the US, we heard of this startup in Brisbane that apparently you take a photo or a video of a building and it reverse engineers the CAD drawings for the local building specifications. Then you can make modifications to design and it'll re-engineer the drawings. Like,
Ash, your perspective?
Look, I think there's so many amazing things coming to the market. I do think there is a period of time in which the switching cost won't just be the financial switching cost, but it'll be the cost of which people in jobs won't be willing to leverage these tools. So I do think there is a period of time where I think there's a great monetization strategy in this for people who are thinking about this future, who are on top of all of these tools, to package it up and sell it to people because they don't want to think about it. They don't want to figure out how it can make their life easier. But I think that's a finite period of time. And then it'll just be innate to everyone in the workplace. And if you're not using it, then your price point will just be too expensive.
Well, we're seeing that at the moment. We jumped into Waymos because they were cheaper and faster. Now, for every one Waymo at the moment, there's what, Aaron, 20 Uber drivers? The Uber drivers are driving side by side with these Waymos. Like, it's just amazing that humans, a lot of us need to wait until we've got like a burning platform. The whole thing is gone before we actually make that final decision. And it was just fascinating. I can't think of too many technological things in the past that have actually been so visual to people, and yet at the same time, people have been so slow to move.
But yeah, on that, Ash, like I feel like the people that are resistant to change here are actually just going to get fully cut out. This is such a breakthrough technology that it just, why would I need you when I can use an agent, which is going to cost me such less money? But like, there will definitely be this lagging period where there's all these people that don't know how to use it. There'll be money to be made in the consulting side of helping them with it. But I think inside these organizations, if you're putting up a resistance to this because you're scared that it's going to replace you, and there was that 10 to 5, like there was that 5 to 10 year lag, that's just going to get cut because the efficiency is that great.
And cut quickly. Like
I think that is partly right, but also from the other hat I wear on the corporate innovation side, I'm seeing what's happening inside these large organizations, and they ran studies and now they've gone, no, we're not using this. Like, we're not using Copilot. We're not using GPT because it adds no value.
Right.
And
Yeah,
they've spent millions of dollars on this study, but they did it too early, or they weren't actually knowing how to ask it the right prompts and all of these different things. And so, yes, I agree with your statement, Jack, in the medium term, but I do think these large corporates will take time to fully adapt, and they'll just pay the money because that's what they have on their budget.
in my days on Tinder, let's hope I never have to go back there again. I had a date with a pharmacist, and I just like to have a chat. So I said, when this is all automated and there's no need for a pharmacist, like, what are you going to do? Two things. The date ended incredibly quickly after that. And two, she didn't want to engage in that as a possibility at all. So I agree with you, Ash. For some sectors, people are going to take longer than others.
Well, a pharmacist gave me the wrong medication last week and had to sprint to me at the checkout before I walked out the door with someone else's meds. And it's already automated. They just get it from this drop down, here's your medication, and they still manage to fuck it up. So
I think there's going to be a cascading, like, if you think of an executive assistant role, what would they do? They'd check emails, they'd review, they'd check logs, they'd book your calendar management, they'd book your travel, they'd pick up your stuff. Well, this demo that we saw, hey, Claude, this is on a closed system. Please check mine and my sister's calendar. I'd like to go to New York in September. Please book the cheapest flight. Like, he just gave these instructions and then just watch the system, opened up the web browsers, checked the price, did the stuff. It like asked for permission on a couple of things, sent a message off to the sister. The sister was able to reply with different things, like just handled it. And I'm sure you'd be surprised to learn that I do often put my blogs and emails through GPT just to check it. But when I do, it's a much better outcome.
no.
You're glad know when John's done that, because he never changes the C to an S, and it's always
Yeah, exactly. You think he would have worked out to be like, I'm in Australia, please use Australian English by now, but no.
Can you do that?
Don't give him tips.
Yeah.
I came away going, like, we're all fucked, and let's get a doomsday bunker.
Like, I agree with you, Ash, in terms of the corporate take-up. Like, I remember bringing this like head of AI for Google out to meet with Suncorp, and 3 different CEOs, like, of different divisions. Like, first of all, why the fuck do they have 3 CEOs? But they met and they got the talk, and then they're having a conversation, and their first question was, how do we use AI to automate, like, simplify our forms to make them quicker? And the Google guy his face just dropped. He's like, do you guys not hear me? Like, insurance will not exist because AI will do these things. And they're like, oh yeah, no, that we would never sell that at a board level. Like, we just need our forms to be faster. And it's like, he walked out so fucking pissed off. Like, I'm not wasting my time. But that question of, will they just be disrupted if they're not going to move? Will they just be wiped out?
I think it depends on the industry. If you've got a resource that you're selling and you have whether it's iron ore, whether it's gas, whatever that is, then I think that's a very different ecosystem.
Physical
assets.
Physical products. But
like on the assistant side, I know people who are very tech savvy and using GPT and Claude to do complex tasks. Me saying, hey, why don't you use it to book your travel or do your calendar management instead of spending $100,000 on an EA? Oh no, absolutely not. Like my EA. Nope.
Well, but there's a thing, right? So if you can maintain relationships, if you can, like, what the reason they're not willing to get rid of them at the moment is the human connection. It's the relationship they have. They probably know their kids and their spouses and are integrated. And so some of those human aspects, I think, are going to be at least extending that runway. But if you don't have that and you can be commoditized, like taking the Waymo, but then I was in an area where the Waymos weren't available, so I ended up taking an Uber. This guy didn't care. He coughed his guts up. I'm surprised I didn't get COVID. He was sneezing everywhere. And then 5 minutes from the end, he farted, like the loudest fart ever. And I'm just sitting there going, fuck, I can't wait for this experience to be over. And so
at some point in the future, we may be longing for those human interactions that AI can't give us.
I've been saying I'm here for driverless cars for a long time.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll get the car again.
Yeah. And so why don't we then have a look at, let's not be as pessimistic. Let's say for those that have some level of defensibility, there's something physical, there's a human connection, there's a high switching cost, whatever it might be. I'll play this little video and then I'll just ask a couple of questions once we've played it. Now, just to check, given my previous things, can you hear that?
Yes, we can this time.
Because normally you just sit there silent and then at the end tell me that you can't. All right, I'll continue. Hold on.
Hello, this is T Industry, Sarah speaking. Well, I'm just returning your call. Thanks for calling back. Did you receive our free sample pack? Yes. Great. Did you and the students like the sample pack? Yes, there was some mixed reviews, but overall things look pretty positive. Yeah. Well, that's good to hear. Would you be interested in ordering some to stock? What kind of delivery? How long does it turn around? The delivery is pretty quick, usually just a few days. We don't have a specific supplier in Tasmania, but we can arrange delivery directly to your school. Right. And the delivery cost is? The delivery cost is included in the price. Oh, okay. Would you like to place an order now? Yeah, I might. We're about to go into school holiday, so I might pop an order in at the start of next term. Sounds like a plan. Just pop us an email at sales@t.industries when you're ready and we'll get everything sorted for you. Have a great school holiday. Okay, thanks. Bye.
How do we think that salesperson went on that call?
I've read this article. So
Okay, well, let's pretend.
Like it is still noticeable. Like there's little quirks in it, right? Where you're getting the vibe of this person's quite robotic, but the style is
Okay, but think about given what it was last year
100%.
and given what it's now, think of what it's going to be next year.
Yeah,
Totally
totally agree.
it's the worst that they're going to be today. So it's only
Yeah.
getting better.
Yeah. And so this came from an article, as Ash has pointed out. You've ruined the TV magic behind the scenes, Ash, but it was by Tess Bennett. And this is a company called T Industries. And what they did was they sent out little sample packs to 8,000 places. And on the sample pack then had a phone number for them to call. And that phone number connected into this AI bot and held those conversations. And so what they did was they just had a developer come and help them put together this tech. They listened to all of the calls to begin with and then adjusted the model. Now, according to the article, they listened to about 10% of them, I think, just to make sure that the bot, but that outbound, that go-to-market strategy, if you will, got them into places like Caltex, Ampol, Shell, IGA, and 300 schools. So there is a way of a whole go-to-market being scaled up unbelievably using that function.
But Don, do you agree? Like this window of opportunity is like 6 to 12 months until everyone else uses this tactic.
Totally. I don't even know if it's that long, Jack. And I think the big thing that I've been talking with the portfolio founders is not so much when we share these things is like for you to replicate, because if it's out in the AFR now, it's probably too late, but maybe not. But it's about, you've got to have a mindset and a culture and a climate that is consuming these ideas and creatively coming up with your own versions. And that's the founders and the companies that win will be the ones that are able to really digest all of this, be on the front foot. And yeah, so it's not about totally replicating this, although if we've got 3 to 6 months, get on your bike and start doing it. But this is an example where a piece of AI is being used to achieve a whole lot of scale that they couldn't have done without.
yeah, and they tried doing humans first. I think that's another key part of the article as well, where the CEO did start with training a group of salespeople in the Philippines. They weren't having as good as conversion rate as she was. Then they hired 2 people in Australia. They also weren't having the same close rate as she was. So she thought outside the box and said, well, how do I make more of me? How can I make more phone calls with my model of how I'm selling? And that's how she ended up there. So I think that's also, from my opinion, one of the key takeaways for founders out of this article is thinking about, well, what in your process requires you and you're the only one that can do it? Okay, can either that whole process, parts of that process, or even just the high friction points that mean you can't do multiple more of those a day, can that be solved using AI? That's like the key tidbit for me.
I was thinking about this, Ash, with your role and with the investors in our syndicate, not so much from a sell side, but like, you know how investors are often reluctant to admit a knowledge gap or that they're not across something that we're talking about. But actually having a little AI bot that they can chat to, like a phone call, and it can run them through portfolio theory or understanding IoT, AI, like all these concepts.
Well, that's what I was talking to Phil about yesterday, because because they're so enterprise sales, there's not high volume consumer like that example there. But on their technical support side, 95% of the time, the call covers like one of 20 topics. And so what we were just having a chat about, because he said they're about to scale up Manila. I was like, okay, well, in the short term, maybe use low-cost humans, but soon those low-cost humans will be redundant. Why not start training a model, getting that information in, doing some experiments, and in parallel, experimenting with the first line of defense being an AI tool that can talk. And with some of the SaaS platforms that I use, using the AI bots now for help, like yesterday with Descript, our last episode disappeared, which to begin with, I thought was the universe sending me a message that maybe last week's episode shouldn't be released. But I don't think that we were. So I was like, no. So I went to Descript, I put in just natural language what the issue was, and it spat out exactly the problem, exactly the solution with a little video. It talked me through it, and within seconds it was solved. Now, for some things, some people would still want to have a conversation with someone, in inverted commas. So now we can use an AI person.
Yeah, I think it's a game changer for support as well, particularly for those which you've got enough of a data set to be able to train it. I think that's the other key thing for founders to actually start thinking about is, okay, I may not have the budget or I may not have the time to act on this now, but actually start collecting that data for the model to be trained on in the near future. And soon enough, you won't actually need to hire a developer to do this. You'll be able to have Claude or GPT or some other model actually spin this out for you. So I think that for me is something I'm even thinking about my daily tasks is like, okay, am I actually documenting how I function, how I work so that I can train my own assistant to do half of this for me? And so really having that data instead of it just watching you for a month, we'll actually start doing that now before you're ready to invest in one.
So I'll get in the calendar the AI developer that we're going to hire to help portfolio and do some things. But on the pre-interview questions, I've set them 2 tasks. One is around deal flow and how would you, without giving away our secret sauce, but how would you help us on that? So I've set a little task. But 2, I said, I'm a part-time COO of a family office. Here's all the things I do on a day-to-day basis. I reckon 90% of them, if not 95, an AI could do. In the interview, I'd like you to talk me through how you would approach making me redundant in my role. Now, we'll see what they come up with. But I have a feeling when you look at what a COO tends to do, if you've got multiple business units reporting to you, most of my day is following up people on where things are up to. It's problem solving, it's capital allocation, it's reviewing decisions. It's like, I reckon I could get rid of a whole lot. Then if my direct reports have their own component of that, then at some point in the very near future, the first line of defense is each of our little agents working out a whole lot of shit. And then there's all the big ticket stuff. Like before going on this trip, I would have thought that that's all like sci-fi crazy. That's next year. Next year it's going to be there. And you guys will be over the moon because it's going to be so more functional dealing with Agent Don than Don himself.
I'm not sure. It depends how accurate the digital twin is. It could just be
Well-
scaling the Donisms.
Or we might need to help control that model.
But definitely bring on the world of the digital twin. This is the part of the rate limiter to AI at the moment is it's interacting with us numbskull humans that are so slow. Like in the AI talk, they were talking about how they deliberately slow Claude down so that the human can watch it and have trust in it. Versus when we have our digital replica, it'll just talk to that and it'll answer for us.
Now, not all of it, I still think some of it's a little weird. So I'm going to play this little video. And obviously not all of it is as well developed as others. I won't play all of this, but this is an AI recruiter in a company that is doing an interview with a developer. Anyway, I'll put that link in there.
Hi. Hi there. I'm an AI recruiter. How are you today? Let's begin with a few technical questions. First, can you tell me about your most recent experience working with PHP? What kind of projects were you involved in? And what challenges?
Sure, I was making a website builder using PHP and Google Sheets API. It allows users create websites from Google Sheets. I was using vanilla.
That particular use case, I'm not really sure of, because what's the point? Like, I've used some platforms where I just had some questions and then we got the people to answer the questions, and then we went and watched the videos to then create a short list of who we would interview. That AI was shit, and it scares me that her lips are going to fall off or something. But putting that aside, like in that interaction, I'm just not sure what the value is.
No, I agree. If you look at the output of that, like what does the recruiter take? Couldn't that just be answered in some other format?
I will say from personal experience, so at JP Morgan, God, how many years ago was that? Let's call it 10 years ago almost. You had a first round before you even got to speak to someone at HR where they gave you a prompt and you had 2 opportunities to record your answer. And you'll be amazed, even though I could have had notes everywhere, but you did have a time limit from reading the question to giving that output and then the timer being up. So even just that time pressure of, even if you know it's AI, even if you've got your notes there, having to speak aloud versus typing your answer out, I do think causes people to have an increase in adrenaline and stress in their body so that it is harder for them to fake it per se.
But I think, yeah, if it's just watching the recording, it's not changing the task. So I think what will actually do is the AI will then watch, like, sit through all the prompts and then decide and complete the task fully, which is hiring the graduate.
Yeah, I think the AI will get to, like, it'll be trying to measure confidence, clarity of thoughts, but like, that's all coming. It'll look at the heart rate and establish if they're pardon?
Hook up to your wearable. It's like,
Yeah.
Body in my aura ring, Jack.
Why is his head on an angle?
This creeps me out. When it comes to hiring, I know something in me just, there's nothing like meeting a person before you hire them. I want to be the hurdle for me that I struggle with.
but that's why I think we come full circle. And then it's like, all right, I'm never going to take a phone call because 99% are going to be an AI bot doing outbound. Then it's like, all right, now we need to go pound the pavement, and we're back to real life. But the problem with that is real life doesn't scale. Like, it's 1-to-1. So that's why, like, when we spoke to Verlin, he was bullish on founder-led sales from 0 to 10 mil, but he couldn't see a pathway beyond that. But founder-led sales, you can get the scale from the personal brand you've built on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I agree with that, Jack. I think it'll be selling to our digital twin. Like, I think is the next evolution. Then after that, but I think also there'll be a generational shift. Like, I look at my kids, I think they'd be quite happy just manipulating their avatar, their digital twin, to operate in the world for them while they just go off and do whatever the hell they want.
I got an email yesterday. A LinkedIn, a direct message, a cold inbound. Now, normally when you see one of those things, you go, ugh, I'm not even going to bother. But here, he said, "Hey, Don, thanks for connecting. Quick question. Do you have a database of old unconverted dead leads that you never got a sale from? We convert them on a performance percentage basis using AI. Want to see a demo of how it works?" I'm like, yep. So I'm going to organize a demo because we do have a dead database in the context of our missions, offsites, even some of the LPs. That message has spoken directly to a situation that I do have, and he's now got a lead out of it and he's having a conversation. Now, that was a very short message going straight to a particular issue, no fancy rubbish. He's asked me, do I want to see a demo for it? He's hit all the other points. None of this stuff beats that. Like, a lot of the AI tools are being misused, I think, because it's allowing people to write these big, long, creative, whatever else. But actually here, highly relevant, really bloody short.
The only nuance add on is you still check your LinkedIn messages. So it's like, initially people always took an unknown phone call until all the telemarketers took over. And then we got to that point where I just don't take calls because it's unknown, where LinkedIn's probably not at that stage. But if we times it by 10,000, you're not going to have the time to go through and then find the needle in the haystack that actually wrote a good message.
No, but my digital twin that will be looking at that, if it somehow knows that, yes, we've got a database of 1,600, of which like 800 of them have gone cold in inverted commas, and therefore there's no risk to us experimenting with this. If my digital twin knows that, then this thing's working out some shit, and then probably at the end of the day giving me a summary of here's the things that you should allocate attention to. One of which is this: 2, missed text messages from teammates; 3, I don't know, blogs from certain MDs of family offices that he wants feedback on.
Yeah, but Don, this is why, like, to me, it goes back to the mid-wit mean, like the bell curve. And on both,
Totally.
it's just real shit people want. And in the middle, it's like, get the perfect go-to-market, use all the AI tools to craft the outreach. Like, it's just, if you build something people want, they will buy it.
I think you're exactly right, Jack. That meme is so relevant that actually, on some level, AI is not going to change anything. At the end of the day, simplicity and meeting someone's value proposition is all that's going to matter.
Imagine that coming back to actually being of value.
No, but what we have to do, and Jack asked the question, and in the last episode, we gave a very slow, terrible answer. Are we excited or are we scared? And more on my reflection now that we're back, I think I'm genuinely excited, because if we can really use the tools, be ahead of the game, have the energy that others don't have because they've just been beaten down in the post-COVID world, I think we can evolve our thesis to just take some of the reality and find those outliers. And what it'll mean, I think, is that we're going to do less investments. But that plays perfectly into our thesis, because we want to do less investments, because we want to be more proactive. And therefore, whilst for some investment types, less investments mean them going out of business, for us, I think it strengthens our value proposition.
Yeah, totally agree. Like every hour that's passing since being back, I'm getting more and more excited by what we heard and doubling down on the thesis. Like I think it's such an opportunity.
And people that are clever are going to win out. Now, again, I'll share my screen. This was not even a direct message. This was just a post by Chris Davey, Family Office Advisor. If you're like me and you're testing out some new AI tools, this one looks interesting. Convergence are creating an AI generalist clone to automate tasks. Now, clearly that's at the top of my head. Unsure on the exact integrations and how it's going to be reviewed, but there's an invite to a beta program in the comments. I'm like, that's interesting. So I clicked on the link in the comments to sign up to the beta, and it says you are 4,381 on the wait list. So you're like, okay, fair enough. But then it says if you invite 2 friends, you climb up to position 351. Now, when you get the email, they also give you the link to use when you invite. So actually what Chris has done is he's gone out to his network. He's done a little post. He's used that link. He's probably now the first in the queue because he's had a whole lot of people like me use that link. And this isn't really much to do with AI. This is just a clever way of trying to get some pre-launch demand. And that's what's going to win out. It's people that are being creative, clever, play on human psychology, play on FOMO, whatever it is. Now, AI is a tool along that, but I thought this was a clever little pre-launch strategy.
Sorry, Don, you didn't share your link with me, so I signed up.
I took the screenshot of the photo and actually copied the link and signed up. So you've got one referral, Don, even with not trying.
I'll be on my own, sorry.
Oh, but gamification of human behavior. I remember there was a wine club, and you had to buy, first you had to be invited by someone, and then you had to refer to get in. And it was a similar thing, like a queue to get in, you were ranked, whatever. But then you had to buy a certain amount of wine every month to stay in. And it just created this gamified human behavior. It's like, yes, I want in. I don't want to miss out. FOMO.
FOMO's powerful tool.
Not only is AI in terms of the product and the services you offer going to be just totally different in the years to come, for a lot of companies that do have like either switching costs or some monopoly power, What's also happening is their channels are changing. And because I follow the property game a little bit, I found this interesting, because if you want to sell a property using realestate.com, like it's $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000. But there was an article that came up of how an agent with the owner, they didn't go through that traditional path. They actually just did a little social media video, put it onto TikTok, saved $8,000 from where their property was. It got viewed. Here, I'll share your screen. It was done in the format of like what 500,000 buys you in Hawthorne. So it was a little TikTok video. It won't work. Anyway, trust me, it was interesting. That then led to a landing page direct on the agent's site that allowed them to drive some competitive tension and some bidding. And they ended up getting more than what they thought they would. And so the channels, they are also changing.
But yeah, so on that, Don, I always think of realestate.com having such a strong competitive advantage. But we assume that agents are going to be browsing the web. You don't need to then only look where most of the sellers are. So why would you use realestate.com when it's 1,500, when domain's 200? It's just a fully open sourced one.
Yep. If you've got all these little agents that don't have a time limitation, and when we say agents, not real estate agents, but AI agents that can just go out, totally.
And then if it is just simply like a yes, no, like you give the parameters of I only want to go in X suburb. So every house that comes on the whole entire internet, regardless of which browser, it just gives you a yes or no if you like it.
And this is what I realized with when Joel better explained to me to us as a group, what a large language model was and what parameters were, and really went into it to a point where for the first time I could actually get it in layman's terms. We've been pitched like a number of property development things that effectively just take data and try and spit back to you what are the best development opportunities. But what's going to happen now is these models that are now self-adding their own parameters will be able to look at the highest changes in price in properties, be able to pull the data from the council websites and make their own model that makes the current premium those services are providing zero, because that data is now going to be worthless because everything's just been scraped off the web.
Oh, sorry, Ash.
No, I agree. I do think that like in the real estate sector in particular, like the main friction will be our buyers having their own agents, because if you look at the human psychology of how you currently find a property, it's really realestate.com, right? You have all your alerts set up and those are the open inspections. Until the human behavior is motivated enough to shift that, and the generation that's willing to do that has enough money to buy houses, there will be, I think, a slower uptake. Like I use social media to keep up to date on all of the properties being sold in my area that I'm interested in. But my parents don't. And yet that generation is the ones who currently are buying the most in that market, because they're the ones who have amount of capital to be able to afford that. So I think until we see that shift in capital, there'll still be a place for both. But I agree, once we all have our twins, doesn't matter where it is, we'll find it.
There's been different points in time where I've deployed a strategy of, okay, this is the area, this is the growth area, here's the council mapping that I've done manually. I then go and create a list of 100 or 200 addresses. Then I go and actually find out their names and addresses. I then put something in the letterbox, hand signed. That is now going to be something that could just be done. Like you can even have apps now they'll just connect in. It'll look like it's handwritten, but it just gets printed and mailed off.
Or you can just create your own handwriting as an actual text on your iPad. It's super easy.
Maren and I were having this exact convo last night. Like now that Palm Cove is sold, well, first of all, anything that disrupts real estate agents, like bring that shit on. But the AI
stamp duty. Let's get rid of stamp duty.
But AI powered buyer's agent, like just a little, like I was thinking, how do I get Claude to basically go and do all this? It's not that far off. That'll absolutely be possible.
All right, I didn't know. And that's congrats, hello, selling Palm Cove.
Oh, I haven't told you this story, I don't think, Jack. So it only came about because we basically fired the agent and he finally pulled his finger and got 2 offers. So it went unconditional last week. Yeah, last week.
Oh, amazing.
But here's the thing, agents are the most expensive order takers in this day and age. 30 years ago, an agent hustled and did a whole lot of stuff. Now they're an order taker 99% of the time based on stuff that comes from realestate.com. Like
100%.
that industry is absolutely going to be disrupted. But what's interesting is we've seen a lot of things trying to attempt to disrupt agents. But at the moment, people still like they either have a fear of handling it themselves, or there's this whole relationship bit. But in the future, like when I sold the 5 blocks at Chandler, I did contemplate just putting a sign up and doing it myself. But there's the whole negotiation bit. There's the, I don't have a database. They do have a database, but do they actually? And in the end, I decided to go with an agent, a local one that I trusted. They did a much better job than I would have done. But in a few years from now, will they be able to do a much better job than an agent, like an AI agent that's going out and just trying to get it in front of the right buyers on an international basis and doing a whole lot of go-to-market? No, I don't think so. And so even real estate agents, I think, you're in a whole lot of trouble, just like engineers, just like everything we've discussed. I don't want to get too tinfoil hat, but I hope the government has got some kind of plan for universal basic income, because I'm trying to work out how much longer we've got in this game and how much longer the earning potential is.
That's a whole episode to itself.
In that instance, that's where I am with Ash, and hope that it takes a lot longer.
For me, it was just more proof that we're already living in a simulation.
Well, that is the thing. When we say physicality, it presupposes that we're not already in a simulation. Because if we're in a simulation, then we're really fucked. I do want to have a chat to whichever prick created this particular simulation, because there's some really terrible shit that could be improved. But putting that aside, now something that you found, Ash, was there's been talk for a long time of is Google going to catch up? And Google search is obviously very different to a chat GPT transformer output. But actually now ChatGPT look like they're going straight after Google's lunch. Tell us about what you found.
Yeah, so there's an article just doing a side-by-side comparison of Google search versus GPT search. So if you're a pro user or have a Teams account, you will already have access to this. And so now you can search the web. There's a little icon where you have upload an attachment where you can search the web. I think for me, a couple of the takeaways from a founder perspective in particular were understanding that consumers are now likely going to shift and use Search GPT as much or more than Google search. And so that your rankings, not only from an SEO perspective on Google, need to be on point, but knowing that GPT leverages Bing as one of their key things, and actually understanding the Bing algorithm is going to be a key in order to rank highly on your GPT searches. So that was a big thing I took away if I put my founder hat on, as well as just understanding the different aspects of search that we haven't actually really understood for a long time. And the Google AdWords, I think it's going to be interesting to see how their revenue goes in the coming years as we get away from those sponsored ads at the top where GPT won't be putting them, or will they? That's another avenue. We don't know if GPT will start to take sponsorship to rank things above. But yeah, good article. Don will link it in there, just a side-by-side comparison to get your head around it as well.
On this thing of the search engines, though, one of the things that came out of the AI session in the US was the fact that all the internet data has already been replicated into the models. So what is the value of Google search? And then it was interesting watching Claude when it takes over the computer using Google to search for things. So it's got real-time data. At what point does Google work out a way to cut that off so that those tools can't use that? What is the ultimate end game? I mean, obviously Google has diversified massively into things way beyond search, but what is the future of a search engine? It's gone.
It's a partnership. It's really the play.
Well, it was just interesting that a day after I placed the ad for an internal resource to preside over looking at different AI technologies and how it could help the business, Ben from Canva, who's an IT lead, he said that they've implemented a new internal AI solutions team responsible for reviewing AI tools that they use every day, such as ChatGPT, Google Gemini, Anthropic Claude, and Glean, just to be naming a few. We'll roll up our sleeves and develop custom solutions using these tools to tackle some of the business's juiciest problems. I think that's the way it's got to head. Like, we're going to try and support our portfolio by finding a resource that can at least run workshops and provide ideas and whatever else. But I think companies need to have some specialist resource internally that can be partnering with every part of the business, having a look at it and saying, here's how I think we can really help improve that. Now, there's going to be situations where it's turkeys voting for Christmas and the innovator's dilemma, where it's like, well, we actually have to kill something in order to rebirth something else. And that's going to lead to a lot of conflict inside organizations. And the only way they're going to be able to traverse that conflict if they can really maintain that high trust and respect. And that high trust and respect requires a really common vision and mission. So then that way people are willing to change. But if people don't have an interest in it, if there isn't a common vision and mission, if there isn't high trust and respect, what you'll find is all of this change is going to lead to a lot of conflict and companies will blow themselves apart. And so what founders and investors really need to be doing in parallel at looking at these opportunities, make sure that you invest in the cultural ingredients that are going to ensure that these opportunities see the life of day. Otherwise, we're just going to see companies blow up.
Yeah. Speaking of cultural experiences, have you guys used GPT to role play?
So this has moved very personal very quickly. So
Sorry, footnote.
Yeah.
Tears, I really should have clarified that first. One of the things that I've been using GPT for, particularly in the last kind of 4 weeks, as its reasoning's gotten better, is role playing, particularly from a HR perspective. So all of the businesses that I consult across, there's no HR representative. And sometimes you're going to walk into a difficult conversation. I had to let someone know that they didn't get a role recently, and I had really good reasoning why. It was very thorough, but I wanted to make sure that I was going into this with the right headspace, understood how they could potentially feel, and then have the right emotional response for the way they were feeling. So I jumped into GPT and I said, hey, I want you to act as a senior HR executive at a small business. Here are the inputs. Here's the situation. Can we role play how this conversation could play out? And so I've been using it in that sense, and it's massively unlocked all of this potential. The other day I was like, okay, I feel like I want to do some leadership training. Can you be my coach for leadership? I want you to be a senior executive who's worked across the S&P 500 companies. You've had a 30-year career, but you're on the edge of technology, da-da-da-da-da. Here's some situations I'm dealing with from your experience. How would you...
I'm stuck with these 3 idiots, and I need some leadership development of how to better handle them. That's where I'm hearing this is going?
I think that's your own demons, but no, it wasn't about you. I just think the role play aspect is something that's massively unlocked this additional resource. And when you think from a founder's perspective, quite often you're unsure what your next hire needs to be, whether you need HR, whether you need a CEO, COO, CEO, whatever it may be. So instead of jumping to a recruiter, actually just start having conversations with GPT or Claude or whatever one you decide is your preference, and figure out if that can be your coach to fill a gap for now. Keep that burn rate low. Like, try to be innovative and think outside the box of how to leverage it. Yes, automate tasks, but this role play thing has really unlocked something for me.
It's interesting you say that. A guy I know, I was talking to yesterday, going through a bit of a problematic divorce. He said a couple of times he's washed the email and asked GPT to make it more empathetic. And he said that to begin with, he was like, no. But he said he just, because that situation is such an emotional situation, he puts it in. And what he does now is he tries not to read the output, because then it triggers him, because he feels like he's getting the raw end of the deal, but he reckons it's helped. It's helped significantly.
Sounds like that should be an input into that startup that raised this week. Oh, lost it.
The divorce platform.
That should just be an input. Everything goes through the platform, washes it.
No, but having been through one, if we just had 2 agents that were not emotional, just bashing the details out.
It reminds me, a founder in Brisbane, Wendy, I can't remember her surname, but Wendy she was before her time because she had this tool, which was an app for exes to communicate over parenting matters. But anytime they swore or said certain things, it would replace it with language like rainbows, unicorns, whatever. And so, like, I think about that now in this world. She was absolutely honest. Like, it's needed, but I think maybe a bit of ahead of her time. But now AI can totally do that, take all the emotion out of it. It's needed.
Yeah. No, if you think of the processes we try and help the founders with internally, whether it's PIPs or the whole PAEI or whatever else, we're trying to depersonalize these things and create an environment where people can bring them out without all of that emotion. Because normally if you don't have rails to run on, if you don't have structure in place and you've got some issue to try and resolve, you get a whole lot of people in the room with different styles and personalities and interests and values and historical traumas. It just descends into madness. So what we do is we try and install some rails to run on. And that's why I think there's absolutely going to be some tools that we can develop that, again, make people like me irrelevant, but not fully irrelevant.
To say, why don't we just GPT you?
Well, what I would like to humbly submit is that people like me will be walking around with a series of AI tools, but Ash, more than happy to take that feedback on board. Interesting when I talk about trust and respect and these different things. It's
No, I mean in the nice way. Like, you spend all this time with our portfolio managers. Imagine if we could just package that up in a GPT so that when you're not free to jump on a call, you can shoot them the link to the custom
100%. Like 90% of the stuff is the same advice.
Yeah. So we should definitely take this offline and get on with it.
It was a convo we had in the US is how much of the portfolio support could we actually turn into an AI bot, essentially.
No, I'm all for it. Like, I've got an excavator and shit to keep me occupied. I don't need this stuff.
No shortage of physicality.
I've got things that can keep me interested. Who was it that pointed out that if this does occur, was you, Aaron, we were talking about if all of this occurs and the majority of people then don't have need for employment and then we have universal basic income, how are we going to keep a population of humans occupied where you pay them to play video games?
Ew.
Yeah. Simulation.
No.
I'll just live inside the machine.
I've probably spent 15 minutes on video games my entire life.
Well, it won't be a video game like a video game. It'll be like Earth.
It'll be like the Black Mirror one where you've been uploaded anyway.
Oh, God.
But Ash, to go back to your point before, I thought it's an awesome point. Like mentoring from AI, like having it coach you through scenarios or running scenarios from a sales preparation strategy, or like one of the founders from the mission right now just wrapped up a meeting with SpaceX for his venture up in Seattle in the US. And like the way he was prepping for that, he could have run scenario modeling and actually been coached through all the different things that could come up ahead of the meeting.
That's what I did to prep for the interview for Tribe, was I role played with GPT on like different questions. And I was like,
dear GPT, imagine the stupidest people you can think of.
No, but it's true. And I think it's just a great way to also understand different aspects and different perspectives. And it's powerful. And like, you can give it parameters. You can give it, I gave it the website. I gave it your LinkedIn. So I gave it all of this different information about what I was interviewing for. The role was investor relations, but I wanted to be ready if there was a question on, well, how would I think about evaluating a portfolio company? Because I was like, if they're going to bring me on the team, they want me to also understand that perspective. And so I was like doing this back and forth. And then to make it more interview-like, I would then give my laptop to my partner and go, hey, can you ask me these questions? GPT has given you bullet points under the question of, based on my resume and my experience, what I should be leveraging as an example of how I've showed this before. And then that's how I would spit out my answer based on just what's in my head. And then my partner, Tim, would just say, oh, but you also should leverage this part of your experience, or you should maybe think about how you can weave in this story based on what I had told GPT about my experience, my background, key things I thought were interesting that I wanted to bring up in the interview, but how I could weave a narrative to make it a clean thread.
I love it.
What I'm glad though, because you said you fed everything to GPT, that a lot of my earlier days was before the internet. Like, that's an old newspaper clipping.
Is that?
That is done.
I don't even. I do.
Yeah. So Don McKenzie has a message for the bloke world's protesters. So I'm glad that it's the later Don, not the younger Don. Look, mindful of time, let's jump to some charts because there's actually some relevant charts to our conversation that might keep it going. So it was Halloween last week in the US. And so this you could have dressed up as AI founder. This includes a ChatGPT subscription, hyped up VCs, an AGI roadmap, copyright lawsuits, founder mode, and unicorn before revenue coffee mug.
Best bit of that as well was not included profitability, any moat, and low burn rate.
I mean, it includes founder mode, low burn rates. Done.
Yeah. So how do you feel about dating an AI partner? So interestingly, out of this survey, 51% said they were creeped out, 22% were amused, 22% were intrigued. Well, for a start, the survey doesn't add up to 100%. Now that
I was about to say it's like 200%.
Obviously, you're allowed multiple choice. But I think what we've heard from this discussion, Ash, your generation, like AI partners and AI confidants and AI whatever else is going to be par for the course.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Zennial, so I'm very much on that cusp. I would still feel.
But you're sharing your feelings with the computer right now.
Yeah, but I'm in the creeped out.
Well, so it's interesting you say that. So here is the search results for AI girlfriend and AI boyfriend. And there's 13 times more search volume for AI boyfriend than there is AI girlfriend. No, other way around. Sorry. AI girlfriend is 13 times. So it does highlight that men continue to be the weirder and the creepy bunch, and women ain't got no time for no man nor no AI boyfriend.
Just have an AI person, don't need to classify it as a boyfriend.
Now, why I think the fabric of humanity might be in a bit of a pickle with this is because actually humanity requires reproduction, and here's the percentage of Americans married by their birth decade. And so what's interesting is that you can see as time's gone on, 1940s, 1950s, 1960s, by the time you got to the third decade, what's that, 60 or 70%? But in the 90s, so people born in the 90s, it drops down to 30%. People born in the 80s, so our cohort, it was what, 75%, whereas your cohort is like 30%. So...
But does this include like married and then divorced?
That's a good question. That would be a good chart.
Do they count me twice?
Yeah, exactly. My friend.
I listened to a podcast and they said this whole idea that 50% of marriages end up in divorce is bullshit. The majority of marriages don't. But if you've been divorced once, you tend to do it multiple times, and that cohort then screws up the average.
That's interesting.
Yes. That 100% that don't end up in divorce end up in death. So...
Oh, nice. So this chart, this is the Bitcoin price going back to really when it kicked off in 2011, not kicked off, but the price explosion. And this is what the price has done after each election since 2012. After each election, it's gone to the moon. Now, I wonder if that's going to happen again.
Not talking about politics.
It depends on which party.
That's why I think Trump's going to get in, because a lot of the market signals, keeping in mind when the Challenger spacecraft blew up, within like 15 minutes, the market knew which one of the companies had fucked up. Like the market can smell this shit. I have a feeling Trump's in, as unbelievably bizarre as that would be. But anyway, let's see what Bitcoin does. So this is a chart showing the liquidity from M&A activity from the top 10 software acquirers by market cap. And you can just see the last couple of years, there's just been no liquidity. Like acquisitions from even the top 10 have been bugger all, which is a problem for our ecosystem, because if things aren't acquired, there isn't cash going to investors. And if cash isn't going to investors, investors don't invest.
And we know that IPO as a market is definitely going down as well.
Now, who are some of those serial acquirers? Well, this is a chart for those at home that show since 2000, Alphabet has made 222 acquisitions totaling 16 billion. Now, it's interesting that Alphabet, I think, through Google is about to be really disrupted, but maybe some of the stuff they've bought gives them a new life. That's part of the reason why you do acquisitions. Microsoft has done 140 acquisitions, but they're worth 50 billion. Cisco's done 134 acquisitions, 60 billion. Apple's done 102 acquisitions worth 6.5. Meta, 98 acquisitions totaling 23 billion. So it's just interesting to see. I didn't realize those companies were as acquisitive as they were.
I thought it was also interesting that Salesforce had 63, but had the largest total deal value.
Yeah, 60 billion.
1.5 billion. So it's interesting where, and this is something that I used to hear in the ecosystem back in North America a lot, is that Alphabet acquires early. And so they have smaller acquisition costs because they want to bring them in-house and grow them with the tech in-house. And I think Microsoft has somewhat of a similar thought process. So you've got 200 acquisitions at 16.5 versus 63 with Salesforce at 61.5 billion. It's a massive difference.
Yeah, right.
And then look at
Absolutely.
Samsung, 32 at 1 billion. Tiny.
That's a really good point.
So this is a chart. For some reason, where it's come from has been cut off, but this is the number of high net worths in Australia. And in 2018, high net worths, I think, is in this definition, people with over 2.5 million assets. So in 2018, there was about 460,000. And 6 years later, it's jumped to nearly 700,000. Like, that is a massive explosion of growth.
In 2020 to 2021.
Just
massive.
Baby boomers sitting on property portfolios that doubled overnight.
I was going to say, if we took out home ownership, like left in investment properties, it'd be interesting to see that.
Imagine how Jack and I feel.
This is a chart showing the income that you need to have a house. So not an apartment, but if you want to own a house, this is the income that's required to pull that off in today's interest rate environment. So in Sydney, you need $293,000 in combined income to pull off the average house. Canberra's 205, Melbourne 189, Hobart 148, Adelaide 163, Brisbane 178. So us Adelaideans and Queenslanders are relatively similar. The only thing I'm looking at there in the middle of Australia is zero. I don't know what that actually means, but I would have thought it would be cheaper in Hobart than Darwin. I was interested by that.
What is bougie?
Yeah.
Good food, good wine, good cheese. Nah,
Oh,
you've got people got
Is bougie a good word?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would have thought Perth would have been more expensive.
No.
Give it a few years.
Yeah. Well, it is.
So this is a chart of, since 2001, Netflix's paid subscribers. If you want to look at an exponential chart of going from 500,000 to 283 million, like, that is just a powerhouse of a company that just keeps adding people. And talk about network effects. What's the other Helmer's power? It's the distribution, the way it makes its own original content and then just divides it up. Just a fantastic business model. But Netflix isn't just an amazing company. It produces founders at a rapid rate. So there are 65 companies that have been started by Netflix employees that have raised more than $1 million and have raised a combined funding of $1 billion.
Yeah, I read
this
an
is
article on this. It's
And this is
fascinating.
what Canva's going to do. Atlassian, like, what happens is it just gives birth to just unbelievable innovation.
We're seeing it with Tech One too, the number of people leaving there to start startups.
Now, it doesn't always work out. Apple had the augmented reality glasses. If you were like $5,000 a throw, was going to take over the world. I don't know if you saw the announcement, but they're going to stop producing them at the end of this year, which for someone like Apple, that's a pretty big failure. But what people had forgotten is that you could have paid $3,500 for augmented reality or $20 for magic mushrooms and got an even better experience.
And looked just as weird walking down the street.
Great. Name is protect us for these statements.
Yeah.
This is a chart, frequency of miracles. So quite high until the camera was invented. Then it drops to zero. But then once Photoshop was invented, the frequency seemed to have jumped back up. So that's high quality.
I think there's a similar correlation of UFO sightings.
So these are the search trends going July, August, September, October, no, December every year, going back almost 20 years for the song All I Want for Christmas Is You. You'll note that there's almost no demand for it in July, August, or September. October, it starts to get interesting. This year, no, that was 2018. And then it spikes and then it dies. And that's it. That's the charts.
Sweet. Did we touch on our issue of the week?
Oh, terrible.
I think for this episode, given we've gone this long, the issue of the week is AI maybe, but I'm happy to take others from the floor.
No, that's been occupying my mind. That's all I had.
Well, we could do final reflections.
Let's get on to GPT and Dom.
You will miss me when I'm gone.
You might be on.
Said no one ever.
No, because we'll just have your digital twin to enjoy.
Yeah. What are we looking forward to? We've got the event with Brad Moran. Brad built a company called CitrusAd and sold it to the French for 204 million, I think, in 2021. And he's doing a fireside chat with us down at Mick's place in Talabudra from 5 o'clock today. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, really looking forward to that. And then tomorrow back on the Goldie for InvestFest, something like 40 VCs and meeting 200 and something founders for back-to-back pitching. So I'm down there tomorrow, Arvo, for that. Should be fun.
That's in my calendar. Am I supposed to be there or?
No. You can come along if you want.
I'll be too busy working on my digital twin and role-playing with myself.
Oh, wow.
Ash, what are you looking forward to?
Maybe some HR role playing. No, today I have a lunch with ladies in VC in SA. So excited for that.
Nice.
And feel like I've got something important. Oh, going to the cricket on Friday. Australia versus Pakistan.
Oh, nice.
Oh, very nice.
Being a traditional South Australian on the member side, may or may not watch a lot of cricket. Yeah, it's going to be a good week. And then Sown Hearts and Minds next week. So there'll be a massive investment community in Adelaide. If you're coming and you listen to the podcast, reach out.
Well, speaking of Sown Hearts and Minds, I re-listened in the US to the 2 TDM pitches at that whilst on the treadmill. And yeah, the way they look at some of these businesses is very clever. And the one where they unpack what a good medical company looks like into a 6 pillars is exceptional.
Yeah, Jingbei from Tribeca, who's now spun out on her own, she was at the pitch retreat that I was at 2 weeks ago as well. So I'm excited to see her and a bunch of other people in the investment community, see them get up and pitch.
Looking forward to having another stab at the captive fund deck with Ash today. We're both in the office.
That reminds me, I'm about to hit send on this version. So you'll have that too.
Last hour, Aaron, come on.
Got to get everything into it that I can.
Yeah. And is there any other way?
Yeah, totally.
Do as we say, not as we do.
I definitely need to have input into your middle around admin and time management.
Well, that's all we've got time for today in today's episode.
It's the fire hose of opportunity.
You have a good lunch, Ash. Look forward to any updates.
And any South Australians that do want to hear more about the US trip and what we learned and the insights, we've got an event next week at Stone and Chalk on Thursday, a lunch and learn, where the participants from the mission are going to be sharing what they took away. So it's not just our version of what we went and learned, but also hearing from the founders.
I hope not everything. All right. Good.
Awesome. Thanks, crew.
See you guys.
See ya.